Hi friends, welcome to Thrilling Tales Deadly Never Before. Today we came up with the second episode of the story. 15 minutes, so let us begin the story with the memory of Mr. Doodle. 2 years back, Elizabeth and John were living happily, and Mr. Doodle visits their home daily, as a good friend. Mr. Doodle was not such an old guy, but he always blesses the couple for long life. One day, Mr. Doodle asked John to take him to the graveyard. John agreed, as it is a matter of 15 minutes. Both of them started in the car. They crossed the half of the way, but meanwhile, the car got dashed to an old woman. Mr. Doodle sat inside the car, and then John came out, near the old woman. The old woman was taking her last breath, and said, "You had taken my life, so I curse you, to become a black beast of this forest, and never return to your home." By remembering the past incidents, the eyes of Mr. Doodle filled with tears, and, later he goes to bed, for a nap, as he was tired. The same night Elizabeth gets a nightmare, in which she sees that John turned to a black panther, and he wanted to say something to her. So the next day Elizabeth goes to a priest, and asked him to tell the meaning of her nightmare. Then the priest took her to the cemetery, and asked her whether she knows exactly where the body of John is buried. Then Elizabeth replied, "No, not exactly, because Mr. Doodle said John's body was not found after the accident, so we buried some old memories of John in the grave." Meanwhile Mr. Doodle arrived there to pray for his wife, and sees Elizabeth talking to a priest, so he went near them and asked them what had happened. Then the priest forced Mr. Doodle to say what happened really on the accident night. Then Mr. Doodle opened up the truth that John was cursed by an evil witch to become a black beast. Then Elizabeth asked the priest whether the curse be broken in some way or other. Then the priest said, "We have to get the old woman's soul back. She can only take the curse back, but there is a problem. To perform the ritual, we have to sacrifice a life of a human to get soul back from the other side." Then Mr. Doodle said that he is ready to sacrifice his life, and very soon, his head was separated from body, and he was dead. Elizabeth was shocked by seeing Mr. Doodle's dead, because the soul of the old woman wants to come back from the other side. So the old woman did this thing to Mr. Doodle. The old woman came back, but she was terrible to see, as her mouth was filled with blood. So Jimmy and Elizabeth ran away to home, as the old woman was thirsty of blood. The priest was old, and he got stuck in the graveyard, so old woman ripped all the blood of his body to quench her thirst, and the priest died. That night strange things happened in Elizabeth's house, as the door opened repeatedly, although it was being closed by Elizabeth. The night was horrible to them. Suddenly, Jimmy was disappeared from home, so Elizabeth went to the graveyard again to get Jimmy back to her, but the old woman was just near to rip the heart of Jimmy, and Elizabeth was helpless. Then suddenly the black panther from the jungle attacks on the old woman, and kept his paws on the neck of the old thirsty witch, and warns her to take the curse back. Later Elizabeth had an emotional conversation with the old woman to take the curse back and spare their lives for God's sake. So the old woman thought that it was her mistake, and so she taken the curse back by listening to Elizabeth's words. Then the panther turns into John, priest, and Mr. Doodle comes alive, and all ends with happy 15 minutes. The end. So friends, hope you had enjoyed the story, so stay tuned to our channel for more thrilling tales, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.